1410, serving the local community since 1949.
Summer Lake House offers the ultimate waterfront family dining experience, complete with rustic summer-inspired decor and a menu that highlights simple, handcrafted dishes prepared with locally sourced ingredients. The Wisconsin-inspired Summer Lake House, where you can enjoy a laid-back, family-friendly vibe with delicious modern American cuisine and handcrafted cocktails. Don't just go out to eat, go outside to eat. Summer Lake House on Lake Delton.
Welcome into the first ever On the Rise. I am your host, Mike Napolitano.
And I am your other host, Derrick Geyer.
We are a sports talk show coming to you from WRMN here in Elgin, AM 1410. We're going to be talking a bunch of different pro-amateur sports. And to just kind of get things out of the way here, we'll be talking both our summer and winter sports today, which includes the Schaumburg Boomers, the Kane County Cougars, the Rockford Ice Hogs, the Chicago Wolves, the Chicago Steel, the Windy City Bulls, and we'll do a little bit of Bears talk, last but not least. But just kind of give you an idea.
Just a little bit of Bears talk, right?
Just a little bit, yeah.
Gotcha.
We're not too excited for this season, are we, Derrick?
No, not at all, not at all.
I just want to give myself a little bit of intro here. I'm Mike Napolitano, 25 years old, graduated Illinois Media School in January of 2023. And you can catch me on all my socials at Mike Napolitano, MikeNapoletano, if that's long enough for you. That's on
That's quite a mouthful.
Yeah, both on Twitter or X and Instagram. Derrick, what about you?
Well, I am Derrick. I am 48 years old, so I guess that would make me the grumpy old man of the show. I also graduated Illinois Media School back in 2023, and this is my first foray into live radio.
We're both on the sports side of things coming out of Illinois Media School, so we promised to bring you our best foot when it comes towards a lot of these, best foot forward when it comes to these pro-am teams, and we've done quite the research for you today. We're going to start out with our Boomers talk. Unfortunately, the Boomers did not make it to the playoffs, a half game back from that final wild card seat that they were actually holding up until the last day of the season. So heartbreak for Schaumburg, but they had some good news. They had an outstanding attendance record this past year. In fact, shattering some records. They have listed on the Frontier League website that the attendance was 231,322, which gave them an average of 4,627. That was almost an extra 1,000 more than the next closest team, which was the Quebec Capitales. So quite the showing by Schaumburg this past season.
Yeah, and this was the third year in a row that the Boomers actually eclipsed over 200,000 fans in attendance for their season. So that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I'd say that they are definitely pulling in the fans, and a lot of that has to do with their marketing and social media. So shout out to all the content that they put out and the advertising. Oh, yeah. And just, you know, Schaumburg being such a community that would back its team like that in and of itself. On August 15th, the Boomers recorded their 200,000th fan for the third year in a row, as you were just saying. They are the second team in league history to accomplish that feat. So that is quite the record. We did say, though, that they missed the playoffs by a half a game. The Lake Erie Crushers went 51-44. The Boomers went 51-45. So I think a rain out, a cancellation kind of helped the Crushers there. They didn't play as many games as the Boomers and had one fewer loss, which allowed them to get into that third place seed, only 16 games back. We will probably inform you.
You know, it was one of those things that they did have a doubleheader because the game on the Saturday got rained out. So they went into the following Sunday, or the Sunday after the rain out, and they played 2 7-inning games. Unfortunately, they lost both of them.
Yeah.
That's and playoffs go bye-bye.
Yeah, the Washington Wild Things were the team that the Boomers were playing in that last series of the season, and they were the division leaders in the West. So it wasn't an easy final series for this Schaumburg Boomers team. Lake Erie, as we said, they snuck into that final wild card seed with that 51-44 record. That's .537 baseball. They were 16 games back. The Boomers 51-45. That's .531 baseball. 16 and a half games back. But even if they had tied, this is how the playoff qualifications break down. The top 3 teams in both divisions, East and West, will qualify for the playoffs. If there is a tie for playoff berth, the tiebreaker system described in Section 2 will be implemented. Now, Section 2 says tiebreaker procedure. In case of a tie between 2 teams, the winner of the tiebreaker will be determined by, first, the winning percentage. Secondly, if it's still a tie, head-to-head record shall determine the winner. Now, unfortunately, the head-to-head record would have gone to Lake Erie anyways. Yeah. They took 7 of the 12 games that the 2 played, so the Boomers had a 5-7 record against the Crushers. So it really wouldn't have mattered, but winning 1 game of that final doubleheader would have probably done the trick and given them at least 1 more win. 52 wins maybe makes you into the playoffs. Yeah,
it kind of sounds like a ongoing theme for our baseball team in the area this year.
I wouldn't know anything about that as a Chicago White Sox fan.
Oh, sorry.
But you know what I blame? I blame the the Schaumburg Park District for repainting the water tower. I'm only kidding, Schaumburg Park District, but they had to repaint the water tower with the Boomers logo on it right at the time when the Boomers were fighting for that final wild card spot. They needed to boost team morale.
Yeah, I was going to say 8 minutes in and you're already getting us in trouble with the city.
No, they love me. The Schaumburg Park District. Oh, okay. I don't do anything.
No, not at all. No.
So other than that, the atmosphere at the park this year, I had been to a number of games, was stellar, as it always is. The fireworks were great. We actually have friends of the show are the ones who shoot off most of the fireworks shows. We got to go behind the scenes a little bit, and we'll be probably talking about that as we do more Boomers talk on this show. We may save that for next year, or something to talk about during the slow winter, although we're going to have quite the busy winter with those other hockey teams and basketball teams that we mentioned that we will be getting into as well on this show.
No, just out of curiosity, Mike, you did say that you have gone to a number of Boomer games this year and everything.
Yes.
What makes it different from going to, say like a venue like Guaranteed Rate or Wrigley Field or even, the Chicago Dogs and, Rosemont?
I would say for the Boomers specifically, it's a lot more accessible, not just because I am located in Schaumburg, 5 minutes up the road, but also free parking never hurts.
Oh, no.
And getting in and out of the stadium is, simple. Ticketing process is pretty nice and smooth. You get in, it's a nice baseball atmosphere. It's not too big. It's not too small. You have that family-oriented side of things that minor league baseball should always have.
Sure.
But at the same time, they pride themselves on winning. And you talk about the Boomers' history. They were founded and started playing in 2012. They made the playoffs for the first time in 2013, went all the way and won the championship. Did it again in 2014. So back to back. 2 of their 3 seasons in existence, they had won a championship. They also won in 2017. I was out in Florence, Kentucky to see that championship. That was an odd circumstance, but it worked out. I'll leave that story for another time.
Sounds like there's a little tea there.
It is, yeah, no, there is. But it was a great time. Then 2021, I believe, was their next championship. 2020 was shut down due to COVID.
Right.
So up until 2021, the Boomers had not lost a playoff series. In 2022 was when they got knocked out of the championship. So they went all the way to the championship, the first ever series they ever lose is the championship. So they had gone undefeated in the playoffs, basically, in series wise. They had lost individual games, but
not a bad run.
And then last year, 2023, they lost in the wild card round. So missing the playoffs this year, there's only a handful of times that they've done so in their now, I guess you could call it 11 seasons, because of 2020. There was no season. So 12 years of existence, 11 seasons, 4 championships. I could definitely say that this Boomers team prides themselves on the baseball that they put on the field, as well as the environment that they give to their fans. Yeah. And that is backed by the fact that this year they had their first ever and second ever drone shows to accompany their fireworks shows. It was during Star Wars night that they had their first drone show, and then it was brought back by popular demand. So they're doing something right over there, I would say. A lot of things right, actually, in fact.
Boom, 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 boom. Oh, yeah, okay.
The second drone show was for Marshmallow Fight Night. So I imagine it had a lot of Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Oh, we're not talking Marshmallow, not the actor, the singer, the rapper?
No, not the... Well, I don't know if they threw any of that theme in there, because I don't know what else you can throw up there for a drone show for Marshmallow Night. I was not there that night.
That might be kind of awkward.
The Star Wars drone show was phenomenal, I have to say. It was incredible to watch. Of course, I had never seen a live drone show. You see all those social media videos of that kind of stuff, but that was phenomenal. So they do a lot for their fans, a lot of giveaways, a lot of discounts. Of course, we're in the off season right now. We don't know what they have planned for next year, so I'm not going to go promising you anything right now, but we will probably get some Boomers personnel in the studio to kind of talk about next season and what they plan to bring off the field for the fans. But on the field, despite not making the postseason, the Boomers were granted a slew of postseason awards, is what they're called. Second baseman Alec Craig was selected as the postseason All-Star for the first time in his career. He has 4 seasons with the Schaumburg Boomers, and he once again established himself as one of the toughest outs in the league. The New Jersey native led the league with a franchise record 93 walks, eclipsing his mark of 92 set in 2002. Now, that stat was actually brought to you before that final doubleheader. I believe he had 2 more walks in that doubleheader, so 95 is what he should have finished with. He led the league in walks 3 times in his 4 years, with the only other year finishing second. That was 2023. He is second all-time in league history in walks with 347, and he is the league leader in on-base percentage at .469, which, as of the end of the season, is the highest single-season total in team history.
I think that would play.
Definitely.
Getting on base almost half the time, I think that would play.
And, it makes sense that he is the Boomers' leadoff hitter.
Yeah.
When you have a guy that is performing that well in that stat, you definitely want to get guys on early and often, and he does that job to a T. Also, a postseason award was given to Samantha Sammy Fluck. She was recognized as the league's athletic trainer of the year. Fluck has been working with the team for 4 seasons and is the longest tenured athletic trainer in team history. She also works with the Illinois Bone and Joint Institute. So congratulations to Sammy. And then last but not least, this award went to the stadium itself, Wintrust Field. For the 3rd consecutive season, Wintrust Field was named as the Stadium of the Year. A lot of that credit goes to Director of Facilities Mike Talusti, the first ever employee hired by the organization, and he has continually put forth that effort to keep the facility pristine and game day ready. That's another thing I will add. Not to say any other ballpark in the Chicagoland area is all that dirty, but the Boomers Stadium is very clean, no matter where you're at. And, they have grass sections compared to a lot of other. Of course, you don't have grass sections in both either Wrigley or Guaranteed Rate anymore. Guaranteed Rate ever, but...
Yeah, not even, to mention Kane County or, some of the other stadiums.
Right. Kane County doesn't have grass sections anymore? I thought they still did.
You know what? There was that section in the right field.
Is it in the outfield?
Just off of it.
So,
and then, But other than that, because I mean, I associate the grass sections with actually being in left field, right field, center field, whatever. But yeah, they've got grass on the right field side now.
Gotcha. Yeah, I haven't been to a Cougars game in a while, and that's our next topic we're going to be jumping into after the break. But as far as the Boomers, keeping a grass section, having to cut it, mow it,
yeah,
it probably makes it a little bit tougher to keep things clean, but they do a very nice job. There's no grass shavings.
Nicely manicured. Nicely manicured.
Yeah. Some other.
I know what I'm doing.
Some other notable records. Jake Joyce recorded his 61st save on August 29th to become the all-time franchise leader as far as Boomers pitchers goes. Another pitcher, Jacob Smith, became the 7th pitcher in Boomers history to eclipse 100 strikeouts in a season. But despite all that, they fall short. We will probably keep you updated with some of the Frontier League playoffs as they go, meaning we will let you know who has won what series, maybe just the championship. We don't really have a horse in the race anymore at this point. The only Illinois team in the playoffs is the Gateway Grizzlies, and they're practically St. Louis. So I'm not sure any of our listenership really cares that much, not to, to put things kind of bluntly.
And I mean, really, who cares about St. Louis? I mean, it's kind of boring anyway.
Wow, yeah, we're getting canceled immediately here.
Yeah, well, if you're in the St. Louis market, no, not really.
Yeah, when it comes to hockey, we'll dig a little deeper.
Yeah, St. Louis still. Oh, yeah. I should probably grow up a little bit because I'm hearkening back to my younger days of being in the old barn when St. Louis comes to town and we start, chanting that, St. Louis S. Well, hell, I could say it. St. Louis sucks.
Yeah, I guess so. I do have one friend that plays on Gateway, technically, so I won't go into Gateway that deeply and ruin a nice friendship. I'll message him later, but that's actually I do care. I want to see how they finish this playoffs. I haven't looked up since then, but we'll get into the American Association. That is the league that the Kane County Cougars play in. Also, if you've been to a Chicago Dogs game, they are there as well. The only other team I can think of immediately in the Chicagoland area is the Windy City Thunderbolts. That's also the Boomers League. I guess technically you could throw the Joliet Slammers in there as well, but both of those are a little bit further south, and neither have made the playoffs.
Just a wee bit.
So the only other two teams,
Joliet.
the only other two teams that we can really go into right now are the Kane County Cougars and the Chicago Dogs. But before we do that, we will have a couple of reads here. What you got for us, Derrick?
So today, sponsored by or brought to you by WRMN 1410 AM, we have the 5K run, which is going on today, Saturday, September 7th, 2024, at Panton Mill Park in South Elgin. And this is the Rapid Response 5K run and walk. For any information and you want to get involved with this, go to www.afrfest.org. And this is America's First Responders Fest on Facebook, or you could call Mark Bialik at 901-647-1240. So first responders, EMTs, firefighters, police officers, all of that fun stuff.
Definitely a good cause. I think we will be out there a little bit later. But
and we got Marcus Mack on the line.
We do.
Marcus, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Wanted to be your first caller.
Appreciate it, man.
Inaugural show, Rise Up. Welcome to the WRMN family.
Appreciate it.
I'll be in a little bit in the Studio 14, and I love having some more people now on my sports team, being the fact I was the only guy for a while. So I'm grateful to have some new people come join the sports section, and I love it, man. You guys sound great, too, and I'm telling you, this is going to be awesome.
Well, Marcus, we're glad to join your team, and of course, we are covering Pro-Am sports, which I think is a nice segue into what you are covering. Let the people know what you got going on. I know you've been here for a little longer than us, but let them know to tune into your show.
Yeah, I mean, immediately following Rise Up, we're going to have The Truth About Chicago Sports with me co-hosting with Rico G. We moved from Sunday to now following you guys up 10 to 12. We're actually going to be kicking off our inaugural show next week because of the first responder. We got first responders today, so we're going to let that, ride and really be the focus for those guys. And it's a great event, which is going to be a great time for the town. But in the meantime, we're giving them a great taste of you guys and Rise Up. So I'm really excited, man. I'm so happy to have you guys come and join the new lineup on Saturday. And this is our now thing. We own Saturday morning sports.
Are you currently out there at the First Responders Fest?
No, I'm gonna be on my way to the station.
Okay.
About a little bit, and
gotcha.
Yeah. So, man, I'm looking forward to it. It should be a good day.
So here at On the Rise, we're going to be partnering with Marcus quite a bit in order to help him with his show. We're not going to step on toes too much because he's doing professional sports, but we're going to be talking about all the farm systems and minor league teams that kind of feed into all the topics that you're talking about. But Marcus, what are you most excited for in the Chicago pro sports world right now? I know a lot of people are talking about the Bears, of course, so I'm kind of leading you with this question, but what do you have on the docket for people going into your next show?
Well, two things are developing that people really need to pay attention to. One is the obvious, and that is the Bears. But another thing that's developing is the Chicago Sky. As they continue to battle and fight for the final playoff spot, this is really heating up in the WNBA. As obviously the explosion of Caitlin Clark coming into the league has really turned a lot of eyes onto a league that needed it. And I'm telling you, we have a young team that's fighting and pushing, and they might have a chance to make a final playoff spot, which could give us some more exciting basketball. But then, yes, of course, we know tomorrow is the big one. We're going to have Bears at noon. I think all of Chicago is shutting down, including the Chicagoland area, Fox Valley area, Illinois in general. Is going to be tuned in to see Caleb play. And, considering what happened to Jordan Love last night with the injury, the Bears more and more look like they have a shot at taking this division, boys.
Yeah. I know Chicagoland is excited. I know the Sky kind of dropped about 6 games in the last 2 weeks, so let's hope they get back on track in order to keep that last playoff spot. Marcus, we want to thank you for being our first caller and jumping in here. We're excited to get a chance to work with you.
It was a pleasure, and I'll be seeing you guys in the studio in a little bit, and let's keep this going, guys. I love the energy.
Thank you, Mr. Mack.
And yes, St. Louis does suck.
Well, thank you for backing me up on that one. I appreciate it. Mike looked at me like I was a little crazy going that far into it. At least someone's got my back.
Heck yeah. All right, guys, continue with a great show.
Thanks Marcus.
Man. All right, well, we have some Cougars news to get into, as well as some hockey already starting. So Derrick and I are going to bring you all of that right here on the Rise.
On WRMN 1410 AM. We will be back in approximately a couple of minutes, 5 minutes after the 8:30 break. So we will happily keep this conversation going.
Dine out with family and friends at Nick's Pizza in Elgin or Crystal Lake. Nick serves up award-winning thin crust and Chicago-style pizza. Eat in or carry out. In addition to Nick's fabulous pizza, let Nick's cater your events with pizza, pasta, Italian beef, and other delicious offerings. Their big banquet rooms can accommodate all your event needs. So, for great pizza in a Northwoods, cabin-style atmosphere, bring family and friends to Nick's. Visit nickspizzapub.com. If you are 50 years and older, you are welcome to join Elgin State Bank's sponsored movie days at Elgin Marcus Theater. It will always be on the second Thursday of each month. Doors open at 8:30 a.m. At 9 a.m., you will hear a very brief message from Sherry Aschenbrenner about upcoming senior events. And movies will begin at approximately 9:30 a.m. Coffee and a donut is complimentary. You can always call the movie theater hotline number of 847-888-7976 to find out what movies are playing each month. The cost is $3 if you are a member of Elgin State Bank, meaning you have an account there, and $5 if you are a non-member. And for more senior information, catch Sherry's Senior Showcase on the third Tuesday of every month at 9:15 a.m. right here on WRMN, AM 1410 and 96.7 FM.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-234-0316. 800-234-0316. That's 800-234-0316.
B-Lux Bar and Grill, Wisconsin Dells, is the quintessential American grill and bar, with refined rustic cuisine and award-winning libations. Their honest, feel-good food menu is complemented by a beer list to satisfy every taste. Classic cocktails and our signature shakes, rich and creamy with a splash of boozy goodness just to shake things up a little bit. B-Lux Grill and Bar, classic American cuisine with a contemporary twist.
As grocery prices rise, take your family out to any of the Tommy's Red Hots location for great food at unbelievably low prices. There's 6 locations to serve you for both dine-in or carry-out. Tommy's has a diverse, delicious menu for you and your family, with crispy pizzas, sandwiches, salads, and their famous hot dogs, plus so much more. Don't forget their scrumptious sides like mac and cheese bites. To see their menu and locations, visit tommysredhots.com today.
WRMN says thank you to all of our local veterans, like Jerry Christofferson of True Patriots Care.
We had the 1,700 flags up across from the wall. That's how many POWs and MIAs from Vietnam are still missing. Plus, we do veterans and first responders funerals.
Yeah.
And so if you ever drive by a funeral home or a church or a cemetery and you see the flags, you know a soldier died today.
Go to TruePatriotsCare.com for more information. And veterans, thank you for your service to our country.
In the middle of the night, everything will be all right if you listen to Coast to Coast right here on WRMN 7 days a week from midnight to 5 a.m. Each night on Coast to Coast, listeners are captivated by George Newry with discussions on news and current events, conspiracy theories, UFOs, life after death, and all things curious and unexplained. Whether you're working third shift or you're just a night owl, catch the most listened to overnight talk radio program in North America, Coast to Coast, every night, midnight to 5 a.m. right here on WRMN AM 1410 and 96.7 FM.
You're listening to On the Rise with Mike Napolitano and Derrick Geyer on 1410 AM WRMN.
Welcome back to On the Rise here on WRMN AM 1410. I'm your host, Mike Napolitano. Alongside me is Derrick Geyer, and we have a second caller of the show. I hear it is a recurring caller of WRMN. We're welcoming in Derricka to the show. Derricka, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Where are you calling us in from?
You? Warwick, Queensland, Australia.
Queensland, Australia.
All right. What time is it over there? This is crazy.
It's before midnight. It is 35 minutes past 11.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Definitely other side of the globe here because I'm still waking up. I'm still rubbing my eyes. You guys are rubbing your eyes for a different reason. You're almost getting ready for bed there. But we are, of course, as you kind of heard in that first segment, a brand new show here on WRMN talking about pro amateur sports in the Chicagoland area. What is the sports scene out there for you in Australia? Are there any minor league teams or any pro sports that you guys are interested in?
I don't know if they call that, but we do have cricket, and both men and women can play that. And there's AFL. Cricket is a summer sport.
Sure.
And AFL and rugby league, and they're winter sports, those two. And women can play them as well. They have both, like the men's and the women's teams. And I actually had a friend.
I'm sorry, Derek, just to interrupt you a little bit here. But aren't you said cricket is a summer sport. Are you not in winter right now?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because, you being on the other side of the globe and all that, the different seasons. But you're just about ready to go into spring right now then.
Well, we are actually in spring now.
Okay.
And, and it was actually the end of winter. We had a winter heat wave.
Oh, wow.
So the weather was hot.
All right. That's the way I'm a hockey guy. I prefer cold at times, but give me a 90-degree day here and there. I'll take it. Do you guys have a whole lot of rugby down there too?
That's mainly New Zealand.
Okay.
But we do have a rugby team here in Australia. And, I had a friend I knew from school, and she hated it when she got visitors when she wanted to watch the cricket game.
All right.
She liked to watch them home.
Very cool.
She's no longer alive. She died a while back, and she lived by herself with her big, friendly, fluffy dog.
Oh, well, I'm
sorry to hear that.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah. Well, we hope that she would enjoy some of the topics we're going to be covering here on The Rise, despite it being a little bit more on the American side of sports. But we will do the switch between the summer and winter sports. Derrick, thank you so much for calling in, and I'm sure we'll hear from you soon, and we'll get another chance to talk to you and see what's going on down under, and get the sports take from there. So we're going to move on into our Cougars talk here. And I know, Derrick, you were actually at the playoff game last night. That was... we are... sorry. Technical difficulties here in the morning. We're still waking up. But last night was game 2 of the first round of the American Association playoffs, the Wolf Cup playoffs. The first game between the Kane County Cougars and the Lake Country Dockhounds was a 6-1 Kane County victory. And last night was a 1-0 shutout. Derrick, what can you tell us from that game last night?
It was a very highly contested game. The pitcher for Kane County did one hell of a job last night. He basically, I need to refer to my notes here.
Well, in that first Kane County victory, as I mentioned, it was a 6-1 win, and the Cougars showed their dominance. That was actually out in Lake Country. The playoffs are a little weird for Wolf Cup, especially with a 3-game series. The first game is played at the lower seeds home field, and then the games 2 and 3 are played at the higher seeds. So if you have home field advantage, you actually have to worry about not going down 1-0 in the series and having to win a game at home with your back up against the wall.
Yeah.
But the Cougars had no worries with that after taking that first game up in Oconomowoc. And
hey, you got it right.
Yeah, I did. We had a previous show in which I could not pronounce that to save my life. But the reason the Cougars are getting a chance to play the 4th seed Lake Country, as the Cougars are the 3rd seed, is because the top seed in the Miles Wolf Cup gets the chance to choose their opponent of the other 3 teams that make the playoffs in that division. So the 1st seed Cleburne Railroaders had the choice. They chose the 3rd seed Chicago Dogs. Now, the Dogs and the Kane County Cougars both finished with a 55-45 record. That is .550 baseball. They were 5 games back of the Railroaders, so 5s are wild. And the Railroaders just preferred the matchup with the 3rd seed Dogs. Of course, that came down to head-to-head play in this league as well.
Yeah, and the Railroaders did handle the Dogs pretty good this season.
Yes, and in fact, in the playoffs as well, at least for that first game, Cleburne won that one 6-3, but the Dogs in Cleburne got the win last night, a 4-0 shutout. So Game 3 will be tonight in Texas for the finale, and we will get to see who the 2nd seed, I believe I said 3rd seed before. It's kind of wishy-washy since there was a tie, but the head-to-head play does have the Cougars as the 2nd seed. 2nd seed Cougars will await the winner of that series. But you got those notes on last night's game?
I do, finally. Geez. It's not like I've only been preparing for this show for like the last week and a half.
No, not at all.
No, not.
We're still chugging along here.
I'll point the thumb on that one. That is all my bad. But, so last night, Spencer Stockton, he started off, his regular season ERA comes in at a 5. 5.0 ERA. So at first blush, I was a little nervous. I thought that the Oconomowoc team, the Dock Hounds, were going to, really come at him and everything. But he was dealing. He was dealing all night. He had no hits through the first 4 innings. Had a guy, with 2 outs in the inning, went down to a 3-0 count, came back, struck him out, ended the inning. So that was great. He did lose the no-hitter in the 5th inning though, for a single to right field. But he did finish strong, giving up no runs over 6 innings and striking out 7 throughout that, walked 1.
That's incredible. I don't have this pulled up because I didn't know we were going to be talking about an almost no-hitter, but I'm almost certain I watched live, going back to our Boomers segment, a no-hitter in the Boomers playoffs back in that had to have been 2014, I believe. So you got these hidden gems in minor league ball, especially around Chicagoland with the plethora of teams that you have here. But going back to that first game for the Cougars of this series. Oh, we have another caller. Genius George. Genius George, welcome to the show. Welcome to On the Rise. Where are you calling from? And are you into any kind of pro-am sports?
Not specifically, but I mean professional sports, yes, my whole life. I've been following all 4 major sports religiously my entire life. Amateur sports, not as much.
All right. You have some favorite teams in any of the pro leagues? Are you calling from Chicagoland?
I'm actually, matter of fact, I'm right down the street from you right now. I'm on my way a little later today to First Responders Fest. But I called, Mike, specifically. I wanted to welcome you and Derrick to the airwaves. You guys have a nice vibe. I have a question for you, maybe, Mike, more for you. There was a time 20 years ago.
I feel a little left out here.
Oh, Derrick, don't worry. I'm bringing you right in, too, right next.
Okay.
My question is more or less about minor league baseball, which, I've been following the Cubs and the White Sox.
I'm sorry.
Well, you know what? But I'm a Chicago guy, and I love both teams. I'm more of a Cubs fan. I've been to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Cub games in my career, which, I've been going to Cubs games since 1965. But I remember for early 2000s, I was going I had a friend who was a season ticket holder with the Kane County Cougars, so I went to a dozen Cougar games, maybe more, and they put on a really good brand of baseball. They were an affiliate then, minor league affiliate. I know they've lost their MLB affiliation, but I've seen a list. I mean, there has to be 80, 90, 100 players who went from the Cougars, Josh Beckett, Miguel Cabrera, the list goes on, who played for the Cougars and then went on to play Major League Baseball. So I guess, Mike, my question is this, in a roundabout way. You got the Joliet team. You got the Chicago Dogs. I know Zambrano played a little bit. Carlos Zambrano played for the Dogs. And you've got the Boomers, and they have a really nice product, a nice bread and circuses atmosphere there, and the Cougars. But what would you say, Mike? Who plays the best baseball? Where's the best level of baseball? 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I think you'd have said the Cougars hands down because they were an affiliate. They're not anymore. So are they playing at the same level of those other teams?
Yeah, I mean, so most of it is considered AA or high AA baseball. When you have the Cougars and the Dogs in the same league, it's about the same. And then what you can look at is just who finishes with a better record at the end of the season. With the Boomers, I would say it may be a little bit of a step down just because the American Association has been there a little bit longer, and they tend to pull more frequently. They tend to pull some former MLBers, guys that are still struggling to make it back to the MLB. With the Chicago Dogs, you see Narciso Crook, and you being a Cub fan, I'm sure you've heard the name before. And as you mentioned, Carlos Zambrano. The Cougars, like you mentioned, pull a lot of MLB talent that on the rise, including who is a professional, a major leaguer right now, like a guy like Jazz Chisholm. And you mentioned a couple.
Jazz Chisholm is on my fantasy baseball team.
Yeah, it's a good guy to have.
I love Jazz Chisholm.
Yeah,
absolutely. He's a 25-30 guy.
So I would say, as far as where are you going to see the best baseball, it's kind of a toss-up. It depends on the year. I mean, like I mentioned in our Boomers segment, you have a team that is consistently winning championships and winning playoff games and having success year after year, which is tough to do in the minors because of how much of a double-edged sword minor league baseball can be. You can win the championship one year, but guess what? Now all these professional teams are going to be looking at your stars and signing them to contracts, and your job then is to kind of rebuild and have a team on the field for next year in order to bring the fans in and have a product on the field. Both leagues, both the Frontier League and the American Association, are MLB affiliated, so players can get signed, of course, but like you mentioned, they don't have that direct affiliation like the Cougars used to have. They don't feed a specific team.
Yeah,
so
the Cougars were affiliated with the Orioles for a while, and then the Marlins for a long time, the A's, the Cubs for a short period of time, and then I think the Diamondbacks, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would say I would challenge you, especially with how many Cub games you've been to. I would say go to all the parks, especially with how close all of them are in this Chicagoland vicinity. Check out a game at each place. I try to each year. I try to make it to a game at each stadium and see each team. But I'd put them on the same playing field. What would be nice is if both leagues had some kind of talk in the near future and had some kind of interleague play. I know the Boomers were owned by the same ownership for a long while that the Gary South Shore Railcats were. That is American Association crossing over with the Frontier League, but they would only play each other in like preseason exhibition games. So
that's really cool. I didn't know that. I'll tell you now, I don't want to make this all about me, but I'm a big Blackhawks fan too. I grew up on the west side of Chicago, and we used to walk to Chicago Stadium, and we'd get in to see a Blackhawks game. This is Stan Mikita, Bobby Hull, Tony Esposito days, and it was $5 to get in to see the Blackhawks. I don't know if you can get a cup of water for $5 anymore, but I always liked the St. Louis Blues, and I'll tell you why. When the original six expanded in '67, the Chicago Blackhawks had a great goaltender named Glenn Hall. Loved him, played without a mask, and he was the goalie for the St. Louis Blues those early years. And Red Berenson, who was a center for the Blues and their probably first star, loved Red Berenson. I think it was just a name. I couldn't tell you, Mike or Derek, I couldn't tell you much about Red Berenson other than he had a really cool name. And one game I don't know why I remember this, but he had 6 points in a game, probably 2 goals and 4 assists. So that was pretty cool. And St. Louis owes its franchise, you may not know this, to the Chicago Blackhawks, to Arthur Wirtz specifically, because they wanted to keep regional hockey. They wanted a team in St. Louis because Baltimore was pretty hot and heavy with the NHL.
Oh.
They stayed with St. Louis. So.
I wasn't aware of the Baltimore thing, but it's funny. It's actually fitting that you bring that St. Louis stuff up because of the fact that the Blackhawks, because of same ownership, used to run the St. Louis Blues when they expanded and came into the NHL like a minor league team. Similarly to how the Detroit Red Wings treated the Chicago Blackhawks, which is why I think between the three teams there is such a great rivalry. And it's unfortunate that the Red Wings had to go to the East, and Blackhawks fans don't get to see the Red Wings-Blackhawks rivalry as much. But, of course, it's because of Eastern time zones. I wish they would make a little bit of an exception, have a couple more games against the Red Wings each year. But you know what? We have the Blues. The Blackhawks are going to get a chance to see the Blues at the Winter Classic on Wrigley Field. So this comes full circle for you, George. This is awesome. Cool. So I'm excited for that. And we will be bringing you a lot more hockey news and a lot more Blackhawks news because their actual farm team now, it's not corrupt in any sense. It's an actual AHL team rather than treating another NHL franchise like your little brother, is the Ice Hogs. And we're going to get into a lot of those games and that news as well.
You know, Mike, I'm sure Derrick knows his name. You do too. Gordie Howe, one of the greatest players in NHL history, and played for the Red Wings. And when I was in my 20s, I'm 68 years old now. Well, 67, I'll be 68. I was in my early 20s. I met Gordie Howe after a game at a Chicago restaurant. He was such a nice man, blue collar. But I remember, and I'm 23 years old, good shape, and I shook hands with Gordie Howe, and it was like a little boy shaking hands with his father. His hands were enormous, and you could tell he was just somebody that you'd never want to trifle with. And, you know, he was older. You know, he was toward the end of his career then, but nobody you'd want to trifle with.
Well, there's a reason why you called it the Gordie Howe hat trick. You got the goal, you got the assist, and you got the 5 minutes for fighting.
Yeah, and you don't see a whole lot of guys.
That's good. Yeah,
you don't see a whole lot of guys with big hands that can also score quite a lot. I mean, we had Dustin Byfuglien here in 2010, but you know, a lot of those guys are just out there in order to be that enforcer. So the fact that he could do it all is a testament to his skill and his storied career. So that's amazing.
You guys must love Connor Bedard, right? I mean, this kid's special.
Yeah,
he is special. You know, I saw him score a goal. Derrick, I'd never seen anything like this. I've been following hockey again since 1965, and he had the puck on his stick. He had his stick tilted. He had the puck, and he kind of did a wraparound score. I've never seen that ever. Never saw it from Gretzky. Never saw it from Yzerman. Any of those big names saw that, and I think this kid is really, really, really going to make a difference.
It's a flashy move, and you know, some may say that, oh, you know, it's just for the looks and to be pretty, but when you can execute it and actually have it be effective like he did and a couple other stars in the NHL now, it is something special. We're going to be talking about Connor Bedard as he is definitely somebody who fits into our On the Rise title here, as well as Roma Dunze and Caleb Williams from the Chicago Bears, and we're actually going to do some Bears talk today. But George,
Dunze is on my fantasy team too. I'll let you guys go. But great show. I just wanted to welcome you to the airwaves, and I'll be listening every Saturday morning.
Thank you so much, George.
Thanks,
and,
Double G.
Thanks for all the stories too. That's awesome. We're going to have to get some more out of you.
Don't get me started. Ben will tell you. We'll be talking till 1 o'clock this afternoon.
All right.
But anyway. All right, guys. Maybe I'll see you on the first responders.
Sounds good. Thanks again.
Have a good day, George.
You too.
Just before we get into all of that Ice Hogs and Wolves news, Derrick, I don't know if you had any more things that you wanted to wrap up regarding the Cougars. Of course, we're going to be bringing more Cougars news to you next week as they are still in the playoffs and, like I said, awaiting the winner of Cleburne and Chicago. But what you got for us?
I don't really know how I go ahead and I follow that, other than the fact that, yes, Kane County did win 1-0 yesterday. They got an RBI single from Josh Allen to drive in Todd Lott, who doubled with 1 out in the inning. And, you know, that was pretty much all the run scoring, all the offense. The Dockhounds came with their gloves. They played very well, very good defense. A couple of dazzling diving plays out in the outfield last night. Turned a few double plays as well. So it was definitely a hard fought win and victory last night. So they do move on to the next round of the playoffs.
And I will say on both sides, East and West, the Kane County Cougars were the only team to sweep their opponents in these best-of-3 series. That game one, the Cougars had 6 runs on 8 hits and 1 error. Lake Country had 1 run on 9 hits, but they had 3 errors. In that second game, you heard Derrick saying that was a 1-0 victory for the Cougars. That was, of course, 1 run, 6 hits for Kane County, no errors. No errors on Lake Country side. As you said, they played great defense. 2 hits, but they were shut out by this Cougars team. On the east side of things, the west side of things, the Cougars are in the Eastern Conference. On the western side of things, you have the Sioux Falls Canaries going up against the Winnipeg Gold Eyes. The Gold Eyes won that first game 7-3. But the Canaries won the second game 5-0. You also have Sioux City, not to be confused with Sioux Falls, the Explorers, and the Fargo Moorhead Red Hawks. The Red Hawks took the game back on September 4th, 2-1. But then the Red Hawks fell to the Explorers 7-1. So, as we mentioned, all the other series are in a 1-1 stalemate right now, which means tonight will be game 3 for all 3 of those series as we await what round 2 is going to look like. But what we do know is that the Kane County Cougars have punched their ticket at least to the next round.
Yeah, and they'll either be facing the Dogs or Cleburne.
Cleburne is tough. I know in this league, everybody talks about the travel back and forth to Texas.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of times when teams in this league play Cleburne, it is a 6-game series rather than just a 3-game series to reduce the travel and make it a little bit easier on some of these players. I'm sure it's hard on Cleburne themselves, always having to travel or have extended home stands might be a little bit nicer, but in these playoffs, it makes for an interesting dynamic. So last year, the Dogs moved on, and they actually went all the way into the Wolf Cup, but they fell short of a championship. The Kane County Cougars were bounced in the first round by the Milwaukee Milkmen. So this may be a little bit of a role reversal if the Cougars, like we said, are moving on and the Dogs don't. But what would be cool, I think, for Chicagoland is if the Chicago Dogs and the Kane County Cougars met in a playoff series, especially since it wouldn't be round 1, it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge in round 2.
Yeah, and judging by the averages, just the Kane County Cougars batting averages, they put on one hell of a season this year. There are a couple batters that, were batting a little bit under 200, but for far and wide, they were doing one hell of a job this season.
Yeah, and we hope that season continues even after the second round. We'll bring you more Cougars news next week. But right now, we're going to get into my bread and butter, hockey. We've got Ice Hogs, Wolves, and Steel to talk to you about right here on the Rise on AM 1410 WRMN.
Businesses come in all shapes and sizes. Integrity doesn't. For more than a century, the Better Business Bureau has set the standards for how businesses should operate honestly and ethically. So when you're looking for a business you can trust, check to see who's BBB accredited and who isn't. Always choose the Better Business. Look for the BBB seal because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org. Finding a reputable business shouldn't require luck or chance. But how can you tell who you can trust? Pro tip, the BBB connects people with businesses they can trust. So think of the BBB as the better, check with the BBB first because better businesses are honest and commit to high ethical standards bureau. That's why they're better. always look for the sign of a better business and find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
Your hometown radio station since 1949. We are WRMN AM 1410, Elgin time, 9 o'clock.
Drug Administration inspection for quality since before the pandemic. The FDA considers plants that have gone more than 5 years without an inspection to be a significant risk.
And that report from correspondent Jeremy House. You'll find more of these stories at townhall.com. From Washington.
Welcome back to WRMN 1410 AM. You are listening to On the Rise with your host, Mike Napolitano and Derrick Geyer. This is Derrick. And before we get going into our next segment, which will be hockey and Mike's bread and butter, I want to remind you about America's First Responders Fest going on today, which is a 5K run. 2 days, Saturday, September 7th, 2024, at Panton Mill Park in South Elgin. And that is a 5K run and walk. Well, Mike, it's almost hockey season.
It is. And in order to get ready for it, I might have to go to that 5K run walk, get myself ready to endure those shifts on the ice. I think the Steel might need to go there.
Well, you go there, you do the walk and run. I will be watching because I am perfectly happy riding the pine. Actually, I'll be sitting in the stands watching the game, chugging a beer, not really chugging a beer, but, and then having my nachos or whatever unhealthy food there is there.
There you go. That's the way to go. Well, the Steel may have wanted to be in the stands after last night because I don't think...
They already started playing?
They already started. Well, these are preseason games.
Preseason games,
but
okay.
They've already hit the ice, and I'm sure they are kind of regretting it. No, it is a development league, so I'm sure these players are excited for the chance that they get out there. But
yeah,
last night did not go in Chicago's favor. Muskegon, the Lumberjacks, came in at 7:05 p.m. to Fox Valley Ice Arena. They left with a 9-3 victory.
So what I'm hearing right there is the Lumberjacks laid the lumber to the Steel.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's usually the other way around.
The Steel have a couple notable names on the team, and we're going to kind of mention those and a couple of awards from last year. However, they could not get the job done. One name on the team that jumps out at me is Braden Vanek, and that is the son of Thomas Vanek, former NHLer, captain of the Buffalo Sabres for a while. He had zeros on the stat sheet last night, so we'll probably get a chance to talk to him when he has some numbers later on in the season. On the Lumberjack side of things, you had, if anybody remembers, the former NHLer Adrian Aucoin.
Oh, wow.
His son, I believe first name is Colton Aucoin. I looked it up before this show. I don't have the actual names on me right now, but Aucoin's son has an assist and 2 shots on goal for the Muskegon team, but did not really factor in much else to that 9-3 shellacking.
Okay, now you may not feel this yet because you said you're what, 25, 26?
Yes.
Okay.
25.
Now, with my experience being a little bit older, it's often weird when you hear players coming into the league. So Adrian Aucoin, sure, familiar with him, played for the Chicago Blackhawks, Calgary Flames, and now his son is coming into the league. It is just so wild, like the Dante Bichettes, the Bo Bichette,
yeah,
Biggio. I mean,
Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Yeah. And all of these other players. I know this has been going on for 100 years and everything, but nothing says you're getting over the hill or coming close to being over the hill like having another professional athlete in the same family coming through.
Yeah, I had that first realization that, I had to give up on the professional sports dream. Well, I would say early on in my sports career, but also when the Blackhawks drafted Henry Yokiharu, who was a 99 birth year, and I'm a 98. So I was like, wait a minute. They're not supposed to be as old as I am or younger. That's
so
not right.
That can be a little unsettling, isn't it?
Yeah. So most of these players that played for the Steel, as we said, are development league. They are still under 18 or just turning 18. So right before your draft year. Notably for the Chicago Steel this past year, the first overall selection in the NHL draft, Macklin Celebrini is Steel alumni. He played for the Steel last year. He was selected first overall by the San Jose Sharks. That was that first overall pick that the Blackhawks were hoping to secure for the second year in a row. Of course, 2 years ago, they selected Connor Bedard. They also got Oliver Moore in that first round in Nashville. Last year in Vegas, though, well, I shouldn't say last year, 2024 draft year, the Blackhawks had the second overall pick. They elected to pick Artem Levshunov. They tried to trade for that fourth overall pick when circumstances were a little wonky, and Ivan Demidov did not go third overall, and he dropped to fourth, but the Canadians were not set on making that trade, so the Blackhawks only get one first-round pick this year, and that, as I said, is defenseman Artem Levshunov. But Macklin Celebrini, he's a forward, selected first overall by the San Jose Sharks. He lived in the Bay Area for some time because his father worked as an athletic trainer with the Golden State Warriors after his time with the Vancouver Whitecaps. Now, when you hear the word Vancouver and you're a Chicagoan, that should immediately signal a Bedard light bulb in your brain. Yes, Macklin Celebrini played with Bedard in his time in Vancouver for a little bit. But as we mentioned, Macklin Celebrini also did some time here in Chicago with the Steel. It's weird how now both of those players have played in Vancouver, Connor Bedard from Vancouver, and now have both played in Chicago to some extent. Macklin Celebrini also lived in the Bay Area and now is playing for the Sharks. It feels like all of this is like storybook, kind of written, full circle.
A little bit, but when you said Vancouver, I immediately went to Canucks.
That's true. Yeah.
Sorry.
And of course, as the NHL level.
I was the horse that didn't drink the water that you were leading me to.
That's okay. Another topic of Canadian players, Canadian, I'd say NHL teams. Michael Haig, another former Steel, well, I shouldn't say former. He is still playing with the Steel to some extent. His brother, Alex Haig, is on the Steel. He was a -1 last night. He had one shot on goal. Michael Haig was selected 21st overall by the Montreal Canadiens in that same 2024 draft. Last year, he was named to the All-USHL team, and he won the E.J. Maguire Award of Excellence following the 2023-24 season. He's not to be confused with the other Chicago Steel alumni, Michael Hagens. It's a little confusing. You have Michael Haig, H-A-G-E, and then you also have Michael Hagens, H-A-G-E-N-S, playing on the same team. It's crazy. Both were named to that All-USHL team. That's crazy. That's crazy to me.
Pretty good talent, though.
Also, former Steel goaltender Luca Cloutier was selected in the 5th round, 132nd overall by the Colorado Avalanche. You don't see goalies going too high typically, but this is 5th round, right about where I think everybody was expecting him to go from the Steel. So congratulations to him. Once again, another player named to that All-USHL team. Michael Hagens, going back to him, he committed to Boston College, so he is no longer with the Steel. We talk about some other really high draft picks for this Steel development program. Adam Fantilli went 3rd overall to the Columbus Blue Jackets in 2023. That was that Connor Bedard draft. So he was behind Connor Bedard and Leo Carlson, who went second overall to the Anaheim Ducks. Fantilli was predicted to go second overall, though, so a little bit of a change there. Anaheim takes some really wild out-of-the-box picks when it comes to their high draft picks. So I was surprised in 2023 after seeing what they did in 24. Yeah. I'm not all that surprised, but this is a testament to this development program. And if you haven't been out to a Steel game, that would be me, unfortunately. I have not been out to a Steel game yet, but that is changing this year. I played on that ice. I have not actually made it to a game.
It's a hell of a thing to go there. It's very intimate. You're up close to the action. You get to see everything really well. There's really not a bad seat in the house. Although the one recommendation that I would bring would be bring a seat cushion, because
mostly bleacher seats.
Yeah,
right?
It is mostly bleacher seats. And for my delicate posterior, I definitely need the cushion on those seats. Just a fan-friendly,
Yeah, no, for sure. But if you're an NHL team looking for some cushion, you definitely want to look at the Chicago Steel, because this development program has brought out a lot of stars.
Yeah.
Brought up a lot of stars into the league. As we mentioned Adam Fantilli and we mentioned the Columbus Blue Jackets, it cannot be overlooked. We have to talk about the tragic incident that happened almost a week and a half ago. I guess you can consider it 2 weeks now.
2 weeks, yeah.
Unfortunately. Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau, both American-born hockey players, were struck and killed by a drunk driver out in New Jersey. Would have been August 29th, the day before their sister's wedding in New Jersey.
And both of the Gaudreaus, I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name, both of them were supposed to stand up for their sister's wedding and be in the wedding party. And I couldn't even imagine losing two brothers in an evening, let alone the night before. It was supposed to be such a happy and joyous occasion, such as a wedding.
As you mentioned, they were both brothers. They were both brother-in-laws. They were sons, fathers, one soon-to-be father, husband, friend, good person. All of these superlatives you can chalk up to both Matthew and Johnny Gaudreau. They were both patient and very nice to fans. There was a slew of stories that came out about Johnny Gaudreau being patient and considerate with every fan that he encountered. He had two young children and a wife at home. His brother Matthew, who played hockey, his wife is pregnant with their unborn child. Sean Monahan, a former Calgary Flame, was just traded over to the Columbus Blue Jackets this year. He was a good friend of Johnny Gaudreau's and teammate back in Calgary. They were about to reunite here in Columbus this next season. As I mentioned, I think I've mentioned Johnny Gaudreau played for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Previously, he played for the Calgary Flames, and he was nicknamed Johnny Hockey because when he played at Boston College, he was undersized. A lot of small guys don't really make it in hockey, but he found a way to be electrifying to watch.
Yeah, spark plug.
And he was a goal scorer. He brought this energy to the game that you could tell also made him a great person off the ice. And Kevin Hayes knew that. That was another one of his teammates and friends. Unfortunately, so Kevin Hayes is a forward for the Philadelphia Flyers. If you recognize the name, it's because his brother, Jimmy Hayes, played for the Chicago Blackhawks a number of years back. Unfortunately, the hockey community lost Jimmy Hayes a couple years ago as well. So Kevin Hayes losing a brother and now two friends, Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau, within a few years here. So the whole entire hockey community mourns for everybody affected by this, whether it's family, friends, and anybody who knew Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau. There were really nice tributes and silent vigils held both in Calgary at the Saddle Dome and also at Nationwide Arena in Columbus in their honor. And it's just heartbreaking.
It's maddening. It's senseless. It's selfish. We all like to have a good time. We all like to drink. or I'm sorry, most of us, a majority of us, like to have a good time, like to drink, maybe even partake in a little of the wacky weed and all that fun stuff. But, I mean, if you're that blasted and that messed up to where you are impaired, and believe me, we all know when we're impaired. We all know when we're stupid, drunk, or too high, or whatever to get behind the wheel of a car. And it's a little thing. It's called a cell phone. We all have them nowadays. I would fare 99.9% of us have a cell phone these days. You download that damn Uber app or the Lyft or whatever driving service you have. You call that, and you get a ride.
Yeah.
For these two guys to be gone, for all the lives to be affected by this senseless act of selfishness, it's a bunch of BS, and I actually almost sweared.
Yeah, as Derrick said, there's ways to get around having to drive in that state. Call a family member, call a friend, use the Uber or Lyft apps. Don't drive drunk. If you take anything away from this first episode, take that away because this was a senseless act. It could have been avoided. Johnny Gaudreau, 31 years old, his brother Matthew, 29, taken from us way too soon, and all because somebody was impatient. The reports say that there was a car giving the two bicyclists some extra room on the side of the road there. There was a guardrail there, and this drunk driver was impatient and decided to pass that car on the right, meaning there was no other space other than the shoulder of the road where the two bicyclists were, and we lost two really good human beings. I never got a chance to meet them myself, but you could tell from how the hockey community responded that they were class acts. So it could have been avoided. Also, I don't want to get into this too much because I don't want to give the drunk driver the satisfaction. He does have a name.
Do you really want to though?
I just want to mention that he got on one of those Zoom court calls. And when the judge explained that the trial was going to have to be postponed till after the Labor Day holiday weekend, he kind of rolled his eyes and said, "Oh, I'm going to have to be here till next Thursday." No, pal, you're going to be there for a lot longer than next Thursday.
Wow, sounds like a real POS.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's unfortunate. There's no easy way to transition out of that topic, but let's get into some more hockey news before the break here. We also have the Ice Hogs and Wolves starting up in the AHL, and we're going to be covering both teams. One, because it is a Chicago team. The Wolves play over in Rosemont. One, because it is the affiliate of a Chicago team. The Ice Hogs have been the feeder team for the Chicago Blackhawks for a number of seasons now, and this year will be no different. However, it will be different in a sense that this is a crucial year for the Rockford Ice Hogs. As you know, the Blackhawks are in a rebuilding phase, and the new era is coming up. There's a lot of young, up-and-coming faces, and the Ice Hogs are a big part in developing all that. So Derrick and I are going to be pleased to bring you all of the Ice Hogs news this year.
Yeah, and I would also like to add that in covering the Ice Hogs, the Wolves, the Steel, we will hopefully be getting access to all of those ventures, including the Windy City Bulls when their season kicks off as well, and then back around for baseball season. But, hopefully we will be going in there with our new shiny WRMN 1410 AM press passes to actually talk to the players, the coaches. So I am very stoked and excited about that. And I know you are.
Oh, absolutely. And worst come to worst, I'm Italian. I got a few connections.
Hey, forget about it.
So the question many were asking as soon as they heard that we were covering this, and we were starting on September 7th here. Does the
almost
does the AHL play preseason games? Well, in some cases, yes. The schedule is usually announced in mid-September, but we already got those dates for Rockford as of July 30th. So Wednesday, October 2nd at 10:30 a.m. I know, a little bit wonky, a morning game. It'll be at home at BMO Center to face the Iowa Wild, who are, of course, if you couldn't figure it out, the Minnesota Wild AHL affiliate. And then Thursday, October 3rd at 7 p.m., so the next night, at Extreme Arena to face the Iowa Wild again. So that one will be out in Iowa. The regular season does not start until Saturday, October 12th at 7 p.m. That'll be the home opener against the Grand Rapids Griffins. That is the Detroit affiliate, Detroit Red Wings. They were the team.
Detroit. Oh, sorry.
That is the team that knocked out the Ice Hogs last season.
Bastards.
From the Calder Cup playoffs. That will be the opening night block party. They have had this before, so I'm not sure what this year's will entail, but in the past, there have been live music, T-shirt giveaways, food trucks, fun activities for both adults and kids. The adult one looks like could be some axe throwing. The kids could be a couple of inflatable rinks or bounce houses. So get out there in Rockford for the home opener. As I mentioned, this is a huge year for Rockford. There is a plethora, I said that word already, but there's a huge slew of names that are really going to be make or break this year. So we are going to have to see who makes this roster. And as we go on a couple weeks here, Derek and I will be talking about who we think are going to be Ice Hogs. And who we think are going to be on the professional Blackhawks team. I will say also the Tom Curvers Prospect Showcase is going to be one of the best times for you to get a chance to see these prospects in action. That'll take place at the USA Rink at Centenary Community Ice Center in Maryland Heights, Missouri. September 13th and 14th, the Blackhawks will be facing the St. Louis Blues and their prospects on Friday, September 13th at 7 p.m. Central Time, and then they will take on the Minnesota Wild prospect team Saturday at 6 p.m. Central Time. That is Saturday the 14th. That is going to kick off the training camp for the Blackhawks, so you'll get a chance to see these young guys and then go into some of their training facilities. Unfortunately, Fifth Third Arena, when you go into their calendar as far as the schedule, it's an error 404 message. So they need to get their calendar fixed before we get a chance to see some of those practices that are open and available to the public. Last year, because of Connor Bedard and the mass necessity, you had to claim a free ticket, though, to go. So you may have to look out for that this year. I know myself, I'm going to try to get out there as much as I can to see these prospects and then, of course, see the regular Blackhawks during their practices. But excited for hockey season. The Tom Curvers prospects should be broadcast in some way, whether it's on the Blackhawks website or their YouTube, but still more details to come on that. The Wolves do not necessarily have a preseason as far as I could tell, so we'll just have to wait to get into them. But we have some more news, Derek, coming up. We have some football to talk about.
What?
Yeah.
Football?
And
What's that?
And if your eyebrows are raised on if football has a minor league, it doesn't. But we have
it's called the college feeder system.
Basically, and we have some former college players now on the Bears that are up and coming.
You might even say that they are on the rise.
Exactly. So we're going to get some Bears talk in here. We don't want to step on Marcus's toes too much. However, we have to talk about Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams. It's the talk of the town.
Yes, it is.
They're basically the closest thing you can call prospects at this point as they embark on their rookie seasons here in Chicago.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I got to see them in a preseason game, and we'll get into that right here on the Rise right after the break.
And if I'm not mistaken, I did see the Mac Man lurking around the corners here.
Oh, all right.
What up, Mr. Marcus Mack? How the heck are you doing, buddy?
We may have to pull him in here for Bears talk.
Yeah, I think so, considering the fact that I need someone to anchor me down here to maybe just give me a little bit of pause on my joyousness for this season.
Bear down, baby. Right after these messages on the Rise.
You're listening to 1410 AM.
Law from 4 to 7 p.m. Handle.
Batteries Plus Bulbs is more than batteries and bulbs. It's your repair shop for Apple devices, Samsung Galaxy devices, and more. Located on Randall Road, just south of 20 in Elgin, Batteries Plus Bulbs fills all your battery and light bulb needs in one stop. They have the largest selection of batteries for ATVs, cameras, phones, laptops, scooters, cars and homes, and everything else. Looking to save money with energy-efficient LED or holiday lighting? Stop in at Batteries Plus Bulbs in Elgin. Go to batteriesplus.com for special offers.
A recent Gallup poll indicated that 38% of Americans are putting off health care because of financial concerns, the highest ever recorded. I'm Dr. Bob Martin, here to serve you every Sunday afternoon from 1 to 4. Millions of Americans are seeking health advice that will not cost an arm and a leg, so I offer health tips and advice absolutely free. Listen to my show, Sunday afternoons from 1 to 4 right here on WRMN, AM 1410 and 96.7 FM, the voice of the Valley and the home of Radio Shopping Show.
Take a historic walk through the home of America's greatest showman, Al Ringling. Located in Baraboo, Wisconsin, you can view the grand opulence on a guided tour, now hourly starting 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Weekday tours begin on the veranda and on the weekends in the tap room of the Al Ringling Brewery. Behind the mansion, kick back and try a flight of craft beers and dine at this family-friendly stop. Visit alringlingmansion.com for more information.
America's Best Restaurants travels the country and features restaurants that you should visit each week. Recently, the cast and crew made their way to Renata's German Restaurant in Hanover Park. Renata serves old family recipes and delicious German-influenced food. Renata's also specializes in a wide variety of traditional German baked goods, too. So, if you've yet to visit Renata's, try America's Best Restaurants choice. Drop in soon for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Visit renatasgermanrestaurant.com.
Anderson Japanese Gardens, ranked the highest quality Japanese garden in North America and located right in the heart of Rockford. Their mission is to open minds to a different culture while offering a place of peace and tranquility where one can find healing, renewal, inspiration, and a re-energized soul. A premier destination for corporate functions, special events, weddings, and receptions. For directions, hours, and fees, visit andersongarden.org today.
You're listening to On the Rise with Mike Napolitano and Derrick Geyer on 1410 AM WRMN.
And welcome back to On the Rise. I'm one of your co-hosts. I am Derrick Geyer. Alongside with me is Mike Napolitano. But before we get back into our show On the Rise, don't forget, today is America's First Responders Fest, Saturday, September 7th, 2024. It is at Panton Mill Park in South Elgin. This is a rapid response 5K walk and run. Okay, guys, we are joined now in the studio with Marcus Mack How you doing, Marcus?
What's going on,
Our first ever radio caller. Now he's in the studio.
What?
Yeah, you're technically our first ever recurring guest because nobody's really had the chance to go on twice.
Right. Well, and you know the thing about the weekend shows, you don't get a lot of people to actually come into the studio. A lot more callers because everybody's out with the family and stuff. So, you know, hey, it's always good if you can have somebody pop on in, even if it's somebody that's right here in the station with you already.
They're sleeping in on a Saturday. That's all.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, and as we teased before we went to the break, we were going to be talking some Bears. So I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but the Bears have a new quarterback.
With the first pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Caleb Williams, quarterback, Southern California.
Now, that was, in fact, Caleb Williams with that woo. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there were millions of Bears fans going woo along with them.
Well, I mean, you heard that audio from the draft, the 2024 NFL Draft. There's been a lot of drafting here in Chicago. You've got, of course, Connor Bedard in 2023.
Oh, yeah.
You've got Matas Bazelis for the Bulls this year. And now you have Caleb Williams and there's a package deal now with Rome Odunze, who went 9th overall. And we have
with the
our
pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Rome Odunze, wide receiver, Washington.
Woo! Music to my ears with both of those.
I didn't know we had that audio
Music to my ears when I hear that. I every time it puts goosebumps on my arms.
Marcus, we've been through a couple years here with Justin Fields. I personally don't know if he got the fairest of shakes.
No.
But you reset the quarterback clock. You build a better team around this new quarterback. What are we expecting this year from the Bears and Caleb Williams? And you can even go into Rome Odunze now as well.
Well, I mean, we're going to take a quick flyback, right? And we'll say this starts with Jay Cutler's departure. Then they brought in Mitchell Trubisky. Jay Cutler is what they say was probably one of the best quarterbacks the Bears have had in this modern era of football, and that's probably true.
And we were all hoping for that to be the case.
And it didn't come to fruition.
Not at all.
It didn't come to fruition. So then we take this massive stab at Trubisky, one of the worst oversights in the world, because we miss out on Mahomes, who now it's in our face every day and on display. So now we go.
Mahomes hasn't really done anything, right?
No, not at all. Yeah, just a couple championships, no Super Bowls. It's no big deal. And so then, out of desperation to fix the Mitchell Trubisky mistake, Justin Fields was drafted.
Right.
And Justin, it just didn't work out. And I'm telling you, I was a huge, tremendous supporter. Yes. I know a lot of people were shaky or not on board. I was a supporter, but it was that final game against Green Bay. And he couldn't get it done. And when I knew that the Bears had that first pick, it was time for us to realize that we have to now get that generational quarterback. It's time to get it right. And I think the Bears finally did that. After so many mistakes, including maybe even the Jay Cutler trade itself, I think the Bears have finally found a way to identify what they need, and that's a franchise quarterback.
I am so tired of everybody having to throw that Patrick Mahomes stat in the Bears' face. And I think
it hurts.
With the hype of Caleb Williams coming to town, it has kind of turned the focus, and we haven't heard that as much. You know what else has helped? And, of course, football started this last Thursday. I saw a picture with Patrick Mahomes and Xavier Worthy, the new wide receiver for the Chiefs. Both of them were originally Bills draft picks that were traded to the Chiefs.
Yes,
so the picture was these two could have been Buffalo Bills.
And instead they're not.
Now they're in the doghouse. It's no longer the Bears.
Yes. And you brought up Rome and Rome Odunze. Here's the thing about rookie wide receivers. So they come into the league, right? They clearly are going to add a little bit something else to that toolkit. Whatever they're able to add to that toolkit, NFL teams don't know because they don't have it on paper. They've only been able to scout them in college. That's generally why most rookie wide receivers that are really talented have really good seasons. Randy Moss, Justin Jefferson, Chris Olave, the list goes on. Garrett Wilson, they're able to come into the league right away and be effective because there's no tape on them. And when there's no tape on you and you're highly talented, Ooh, that's a tough matchup. And so Rome's going to win more matchups out there than he's going to lose against the opposing cornerbacks and safeties. And he's going to make big plays for the Bears. Big plays.
Before we went to the break, I was telling Derrick how I actually went to that lone home preseason game this year. And I was in attendance to watch that marvelous pass from Caleb Williams to Rome Odunze, a phenomenal catch as well.
I was there too, sir.
And
yes,
wow,
it was beautiful.
what a rookie connection on that. And then, Caleb Williams getting the job done himself, kind of looking like Justin Fields having to run the ball himself, but he can pass and run the ball.
But even that looked different, didn't it, Derrick?
It completely looked different because even as he was scrambling around the pocket, his head was up. I'm banging into the mic. His head was up. He was looking down the field. He was looking to pass the ball. So you don't do that. You don't get that dime to Odunze on the sideline if you're not looking to do that. Because he could have run the ball. He could have, but I mean, and that was the sweetest pass that I've seen in I don't know how long.
It's been a while.
And throwing off his opposite foot.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I'm usually the one that's Italian talking with their hands. But, but yes, I mean.
Forget about it.
Going 4-0 in the preseason. Well, okay, 3-7 75ths, 3/4.
Yeah, because they canceled the game of the rain. Yep.
So, but I mean, nobody else could go 4-0. Nobody else plays 4 preseason games. The Houston Texans had the opportunity if they would have beaten the Bears. But, of course, it's preseason. You take it with a grain of salt.
Sure.
But seeing what we saw from this Bears team in this preseason, I think a lot of this is going to carry over into the regular season. Of course, you said we have a noon start tomorrow. The Bears do against the Tennessee Titans. What can you allude to in this matchup right off the bat in week 1?
What we need to see is the trenches established on both sides of the football, offensive line, defensive line. And then I want to see that defense. We've heard the hype. We've seen all the build-up, and, last year they finished strong. Let's come out and let's dominate. I want to see this defense take this young second-year starter for Tennessee, Will Levis, and completely dominate him. Completely dominate.
Yes.
Keep him harassed all day because Tennessee does have playmakers. Their wide receiver room is no slouch. All right, they've got playmakers. Their running back room is not that strong, but they can make some plays on the outside.
Sure.
So if the Bears don't get pressure, Will Levis does have a strong cannon arm.
Yeah.
The Bears could find themselves down, and that's what you don't want with a young rookie quarterback. You don't need him having to try to play behind in his very first game. Come out, start fast, let's establish the run, and let's shut down Tennessee's offense immediately.
Can you imagine if Caleb Williams comes out tomorrow and lays an absolute egg? How everyone in the city will be reacting to it?
It wouldn't bother me. It wouldn't bother me whatsoever.
Well, no.
It wouldn't bother me whatsoever.
No, but you actually have a level head on your shoulders. Everyone else, or not everyone else, maybe 50% of Chicago would be going absolutely ape-ass.
I got something for both of you guys.
Okay.
Did you know rookie quarterbacks starting since 2002 are 14-1?
You beat me to it.
14-1.
Yeah.
I mean, so if that record goes to 0-15-1,
yep,
big deal.
It is tough.
It's the first game.
It's the first game.
It is tough to walk in as a rookie and dominate immediately. And as you mentioned that stat, it's surprising, but also not at the same time. I can see that being the case. With Caleb Williams, though, with the fact that, okay, this is the NFL. It's more magnified. Games mean more than they do, I think, in this league than any other league because you don't play as many. You play 82 in both the NBA and the NHL. You play 162 in the MLB. So games can go by here or there, and all right, we'll get them in the next one. Especially when you play for the Chicago Bears, and the quarterback carousel has gone on for almost 40 years now. I mean, there's a lot riding on Caleb Williams' shoulders. So, yes, I see your point as this first game, you're not worried if he goes out there and lays an egg, as Derrick said. But at the same time, like we mentioned, Chicago will kind of lose its mind a little bit. And everybody just has to take a breath. But what does that mean going forward? Because as I have the schedule pulled up now, maybe you lose game 1 as a rookie quarterback, and maybe you go back to it in the second week and try to run it back and have a win, go 1-1. But with everything we just saw with Justin Fields, how much patience does Chicago have right now for Caleb Williams if the success doesn't come right off the bat?
The former cheesehead known as Aaron Rodgers had a actually really great statement when the Packers opened up one season with a couple losses. Relax. And that's what everyone needs to do going into these first couple games. Relax.
I'm pretty sure it was the ayahuasca that was talking, though.
Oh, I guarantee it was. But what I do want to see above nothing else, like I said, I want to see defensive dominance. That's going to be the key to us.
Sure.
If the quarterback play is not as strong because he is young, I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is if the Bears defense gets completely shredded and can't stop the run, then I'm like, okay, you guys didn't come to play.
Sure.
Yeah. Well,
how big of a deal would it be if the Bears ran the ball more than passed?
I think that's essential. You have 3 really good running backs.
Yep.
You need to use them. That you didn't bring DeAndre Swift over here to stand on the sideline. Right. You drafted Roschon Johnson for a reason. You've converted Velus Jones to a playmaking running back, and then you've got who else is their third? It's not Travis Homer, Khalil. They've got Khalil, who was the #1 running back last year. If those guys don't have at least between those 3, 10 touches apiece, something's wrong.
Sure,
something's wrong.
And let me toss out these stats real quick for Caleb Williams. Caleb has played 37 games. His record is 23-10. Doesn't really mean jack because this is all, back to college with the Sooners and the Trojans, right? However, Caleb completed 735 of 1,099 passes, giving him a percentage of 66.9, percentage points for his completions. He also went for 9,782 yards, so 9,782 yards, with an average of a 9.2 average pass completed. 93 touchdowns. Okay. To 14 interceptions. I don't know how the college rating, gets so high, but he had an average of 169.3 college rating.
Southern California.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, considering the fact that we had Mitch Trubisky, then we had Fields, who I honestly believe the GM and the coach drastically screwed him up.
He wasn't their guy. He wasn't their guy.
But it was a different regime.
It was.
And
It was a different regime that drafted him.
Right.
When they came in, they didn't want to deal with the fact of him not being able to read defenses.
Sure.
Maybe it was a thing that could they have coached it up and out and for him? Possibly. But they were automatically eyeing moving on if he couldn't prove himself to them.
Sure. And the reason why I'm bringing up all these stats and everything is the fact that I feel a hell of a lot more confident in 37 games played and all of those stats as opposed to Mitch Trubisky and Fields.
Yeah, I mean, way more reps.
Yes.
Way more reps. And here's the thing. Caleb is a natural quarterback. A lot of people don't know about Justin that I found out through the tea leaves way back. Justin was a running back. Justin was a running back when he was a young kid. That's where they
makes sense.
That's where they identified his talent. His dad said in an interview that the other teams were getting mad, and some of the coaches on his own for his own teammates were upset because he was so good and he was so fast at running the football. What it was that they identified that he had a strong arm, and so who gets paid more? What position is valued more? And that's what his family and him decided to convert him over to a quarterback. And it got him through high school. It got him through college. But the NFL's a different beast. Yeah. And your natural position will always come out to shine.
Sure.
And Caleb is a natural quarterback. Roman Doomsday is a natural wide receiver. And that's why these kids are on the rise.
Absolutely.
I like it.
I like that plug. Nice.
Well, even Madden, the new video game, has Justin Fields as a running back, and I'm sure.
but he is a tremendous running back.
You're right.
And
Russell Wilson's going to start most of those games.
And it's a shame.
So you never know if they actually do put him in I know it was kind of a joke at first, but if they do put him in that running back situation, you could see the Steelers having a lot more success than having one guy just sit on the sidelines and have to watch the other guy play.
I think you have to put the ball in a guy's hands. We saw how fast and dynamic he was in the open field.
Oh, without a doubt.
And I get that the quarterback thing, and I get ego, paychecks, and all that, but, it's about keeping a job. Look at how Valus switched. He saw a wide receiver might not be my lane, but now he's making plays at running back.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to say, where can my talent take me? So hopefully we can, he can get out there in the field because I want that 4th-round pick.
Yeah, and
the Bears need that 4th-round pick.
And he was absolutely desperate to make the team. So, the switch to running back absolutely made all the sense in the world. And even at number 9 with the Odunze pick, now with Keenan Allen being questionable with his heel or foot or something.
Season, brother.
Right, absolutely. So how big of a pick is that? Because that was actually the Bears' number 9 pick.
I think that was.
Thank you, Panthers.
I think that's exactly what they identified. I think the Keenan Allen was a safety net, but it was a knowledge of that he is not going to be a guy that we can count on for multiple games, like an extended run of the season. You want him more for postseason, back-end season. And honestly, he's really there just a mentor, a doomsday, because if he's a free agent next year, it's really going to be pending on how he plays and how many games he plays if the Bears re-sign him. So a doomsday's pick was very purposeful to set them up to where they could have a 1 and a 2 for Caleb for a very long time.
Well, you talk about the back end of that season, and what is backlogged for the Bears this year is all of the divisional games. I mean, you don't see your first divisional opponent until November 17th. That's the Green Bay Packers, and then it's practically all division games with the exclusion of a lone game against the 49ers on December 8th and a Thursday night football matchup on the day after Christmas against the Seahawks. We know the leash, we've kind of talked about that for quarterbacks in Chicago, is a little bit short. Those are really the games, I think, that Chicago is going to have to look at Caleb Williams and say, can you beat your division rivals? I mean, that's what everybody wakes up extra early on days that the Bears play the Packers to just see, can we finally get a win? It's been since 2018. The Bears have not beat the Packers. So, I mean, looking at this schedule, of course, those divisional games are important. Where do you see the Bears finishing, though, in this season?
Well, I think we've been blessed by the football gods because looks like Jordan Love is down and out probably for the rest of the season with an ACL injury. So give me those.
That was last night.
Give me those 2 games. Give me those 2 games right there alone to the Packers. Finally, if we don't take the Packers, if Jordan Love is out for the rest of the season and we don't take those 2 games for the Packers, I'm driving to Soldier Field myself. All right, now.
So you're saying there's a chance.
There's a chance, baby. So now I'm looking at that. I say must win with Tennessee, even though I know I'll be okay if we lose. The reason why I want it to be a must win is because it's an opponent we should beat.
Yes.
The next game, Texans, going to be very hard, possibly could lose. Should beat the Colts. L.A., that's going to be another tough one. So now, after 4 games, the Bears are looking at 2-2. Panthers, Jaguars going into the bye. Now we're 4-2.
And we cannot,
especially out in London.
And when I say the collective we, as in the Bears, cannot afford to start like they did last season 0-4 because that was essentially you can't win the Super Bowl in the first 4 weeks. You sure as hell can lose it.
You can lose it. And so if we're 4-2 going into that bye, now we got Washington, Arizona, should be wins. Patriots as well. Defense takes them. Now knowing Green Bay's situation, we're talking 4 wins in a row. We're talking 8-2. We're 8-2, possibly now able to kind of take our lumps.
And then you go into
last few divisional games and a tough opponent in Frisco.
And then you go into yet another home game against a team who lost their quarterback to injury. And because we are on the rise, even though it's not Chicago, it's a Chicago native in J.J. McCarthy that we were hoping to be able to cover this year, but he's going to be out the whole season. So you've got 2 divisional games right there and teams that maybe don't have a quarterback.
Yeah. Barring health. Looking at this, the Bears could potentially be heading into that Frisco game with 10 wins already. We lose to Frisco. Maybe we split with Vikings, which we probably shouldn't because I have no faith in Sam Darnold. So we split with the Lions. That gives us 3 to possibly 4 wins. The Bears are really in great shape, even if they lose to the Seahawks, finishing 12-5 possibly.
Even before the news of Jordan Love possibly tearing his ACL and being out for the rest of the season. Because if he has torn his ACL, he's donezo.
He's donezo.
He's donezo for the season. So even before that, I thought that they were going to be going 9-8. I thought they were going to make the last playoff spot.
Yep.
But now with that bit of information, I'm going 10-7.
Yeah.
So they should definitely make the playoffs this year.
Time.
That's where I had the Bears. I was a little bit more optimistic than most that were going to say 9-8.
Well, you were saying Super Bowl.
No, I was not.
But there have been some that have been local and national media. Some have gone crazy. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid.
I said 10. I said 10-7. They sneak into a wild card. I think it's the Lions' division to lose. But as far as now with the information that we have, it could be higher than that. But I'm gonna stay calm, cool, and collected, and just stick with the 10-7.
Yes.
I like what you're saying here, though, Marcus. I really hope that the Bears have that kind of a season. Double-digit wins will do it for me. But if they can add on to that,
well, hey,
be my guest.
3 wins in their first year under Eberflus and Poles. 7 wins last year. If they get 9 wins, that's you're better.
Yeah.
You're better.
Yeah.
You're better. If you get 10 wins, wow, we're cooking with gas. Anything other than that, Eberflus gets an extension.
And I mean, if they would have done 1 or 2 games better last year, they were knocked out of the playoffs because they didn't win that 1 game.
2 games cost them.
Yes,
the playoffs.
absolutely. But what I'm saying is, they win 1 game, they're in the playoffs.
Yep.
Their record is 9-8 instead of 8-9. They're in the playoffs.
You're in the playoffs.
And for the painful start of the 0-4 record, and then dropping 4 games when they were leading by what? 2 scores?
2 scores.
3 scores?
3 scores at least.
Yeah.
That was painful. That was absolutely painful.
So Derek and I on The Rise are going to be mostly covering Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams, which means that Bears talk is inevitable. But Marcus, your show, you're going to be covering all the pro sports.
Yes.
So give them a little teaser before we get out here.
Oh, yes. That'll be next week. We're going to be doing The Truth About Chicago Sports, where we'll be talking Bears, big breakdown of the Bears. Hopefully we'll be talking about Bears victory leading into Bears next week game. And we'll be doing crosstalk with you guys. I always come in and we'll do a little crosstalk carrying over into the next show. We're going to be talking about Bulls when the season gets started with them, Cubs, White Sox, Blackhawks, Sky. We've got it all for you guys here on Rise Up in the Truth About Chicago Sports on your Saturday lineup of sports now.
I'm excited. Thanks for joining us, Marcus. Thank you all for tuning in. For my co-host, Derek Geyer, I am Mike Napolitano. Thank you for tuning in to On the Rise. We will see you next week, 8 a.m. to 10.
And we will be kicking it off to America's First Responders Fest.
Wake up, Fox River Valley. WRMN AM 1410 is shaking things up with a brand new weekday lineup that'll keep you informed, entertained, and engaged. I'm Marky B, WRMN Program Director and host of The First Shift, inviting you to start your day with The First Shift from 6 to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. Larry Jones, Jakes, myself, and the entire First Shift team bring you the latest local news, entertainment, and, my favorite, more to kick off your morning. Then it's out to lunch with Matt McNeil from 10 until 1 p.m. Tune in for your midday fix of news, interviews, community happenings, and, of course, the legendary WRMN Tradio Show. In the afternoon, join us for Fox Valley Afternoons from 2 until 6 p.m. Tammy and friends will chat lifestyle from 2 to 4, while Sonar and his crew dive into politics and news from 4 until 6. Plus, get to know the movers and shakers of the Fox River Valley with exclusive interviews, too. Don't miss out on our new local lineup that's tailor-made for you. WRMN AM 1410, the talk of the town. Tune in and turn it up.
Your hometown radio station since 1949. We are WRMN AM 1410, Elgin time, 10 o'clock.